The phone trembled in my hand as the doctor's voice echoed, cold and clinical. "Mr. Carter, it's stage 3 lymphoma." My knees buckled, the Seattle skyline blurring through the apartment window. 3 years ago, on this very day, I'd stood under fairy lights with Julian, promising forever. How could forever now feel like a death sentence? I'm Ethan Carter, 28, a graphic designer with a penchant for late-night jazz and sketching cityscapes from our 12th floor balcony. Julian Hayes, my boyfriend, is 29, a barista-turned-aspiring novelist with a laugh that could melt glaciers. We met at a queer poetry slam in Capitol Hill, where his words about love's defiance set my heart ablaze. 3 years of shared dreams, petty fights, and stolen kisses in the rain had built a life I thought was unbreakable. But cancer doesn't care about love stories. That morning, our anniversary, I'd woken to Julian humming in the kitchen, brewing coffee that filled our tiny apartment with warmth. He'd planned a surprise dinner at Pike Place Market, where we'd first kissed over steaming clam chowder. But the call from Dr. Nguyen changed everything. I sat on our worn couch, staring at the ultrasound image I'd picked up from the clinic, a gray smudge marking the enemy inside me. I dialed Julian, needing his voice, his strength. The line crackled, and his tone was sharp, distracted. "Ethan, I'm swamped at the cafe. What's wrong now?" I choked out the diagnosis, my voice breaking. Silence. Then, his words sliced through. "I can't deal with this. Die alone." The line went dead. I sat frozen, the phone slipping from my grip. Julian, the man who'd traced constellations on my skin during sleepless nights, had just abandoned me. The apartment, once our sanctuary, felt like a tomb. I wanted to scream, to beg, but my body betrayed me, exhaustion pulling me under. I curled up on the couch, the ultrasound image crumpled in my fist, and let the tears come. Hours later, the door creaked open. Julian stood there, his auburn curls disheveled, eyes red. "Ethan, I'm sorry," he whispered, dropping to his knees beside me. I panicked. I didn't mean it. His hands reached for mine, but I pulled away, the sting of his words still raw. "You left me," I said, my voice barely audible, "when I needed you most." He buried his face in his hands, shoulders shaking. "I'm scared, Ethan. I don't know how to do this." We sat in silence, the weight of his betrayal and my diagnosis pressing down. I wanted to hate him, but love is a stubborn thing. "We're supposed to face this together," I said finally. 3 years, Julian. Doesn't that mean anything? He looked up, eyes pleading. "It means everything. I'm here now. Let me stay." I didn't know if I could trust him again, but I was too tired to fight. He pulled me into his arms, and for a moment, I let myself believe we could survive this. The city hummed outside, indifferent to our pain, as we clung to each other, two broken pieces trying to fit back together. The next morning, I woke to find Julian gone again, but this time, a note sat on the counter. "At the library, researching lymphoma. I'll be back by noon. I love you." My heart twisted, hope and doubt warring inside me. I dragged myself to the bathroom, avoiding the mirror. My reflection showed a ghost, pale, hollow-eyed, a stranger in my own skin. The chemo looming ahead felt like a storm I wasn't ready to face. I spent the day sketching, trying to anchor myself. My pencil traced the lines of our first date. A rainy night at a jazz club, Julian's hand warm in mine. The memory was a lifeline, but his words, "Die alone," kept resurfacing, poisoning the sweetness. When he returned, arms full of books and a determined look, I wanted to believe in his redemption. "I found a support group," he said, voice steady, "and a nutritionist who specializes in cancer care. We're going to fight this, Ethan." His effort was a start, but trust is a fragile thing, and mine was cracked. We spent the evening poring over medical journals, his hand brushing mine as we turned pages. It felt like us again, but the shadow of his abandonment lingered. Could love survive this kind of fracture? I didn't know, but as he fell asleep beside me, his breath soft against my shoulder, I chose to hope, for now. The first chemo session hit like a freight train. The hospital room in Seattle's Fred Hutch Cancer Center was sterile, the floor dripped cold against my veins. Julian sat beside me, gripping my hand, but his eyes darted to his phone every few minutes. I wanted to scream, "Be here with me," but the nausea silenced me. At 28, I was fighting for my life, and the man I loved seemed half present. The weeks blurred into a haze of treatments and exhaustion. Julian threw himself into caretaker mode, cooking bland meals the doctors recommended and driving me to appointments. But his warmth felt forced, like he was playing a role. One night, I overheard him on the phone with his sister, Mara, in Portland. "It's too much, Mara," he whispered. "I'm drowning." I lay in bed, pretending to sleep, my heart sinking. Was I a burden now? Our friends tried to help. Aisha, a 30-year-old trans woman who ran the poetry slam where we met, brought homemade curry and fierce optimism. "You're tougher than this, Ethan," she said, her dark eyes steady. "And Julian, get it together." Her girlfriend, Lena, a 27-year-old non-binary artist, painted a mural on our apartment wall, a vibrant phoenix rising from ashes. "For you," Lena said softly. Their support was a lifeline, but it couldn't fill the growing gap between Julian and me. One rainy afternoon, I found Julian's journal open on the coffee table. His messy scrawl spilled out. "I love him, but I'm terrified. What if he dies? What if I fail him?" The words gutted me. I wanted to confront him, to demand he talk to me, but fear stopped me. Instead, I sketched him as I remembered him, laughing, carefree, before cancer stole our lightness. At my next appointment, Dr. Nguyen's face was grim. "The tumors aren't shrinking as we'd hoped," she said. "We need to adjust your treatment." Julian's hand tightened around mine, but his silence screamed louder. That night, he didn't come home. I called, texted, nothing. Panic clawed at me. Had he left for good? At 2 a.m., he stumbled in, reeking of whiskey. "I can't do this," he slurred, collapsing on the couch. "I'm not strong enough." I wanted to shake him, to scream that I was the one dying, not him. But I saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear I felt. "Then let's be weak together," I said, kneeling beside him. He sobbed, clinging to me, and for the first time in weeks, we talked. Really talked. About his guilt, my anger, our love. It wasn't a fix, but it was a start. The support group Julian found became our anchor. We met every Thursday in a community center near Lake Union. There, I met Sam, a 32-year-old gay man with leukemia, whose humor cut through the gloom. "Cancer's a bitch, but we're bitchier," he'd say, winking. Julian bonded with a caregiver named Priya, a 35-year-old lesbian whose wife was in remission. Their stories gave us perspective, but the tension between us lingered. Could we rebuild what we'd lost? By the end of the month, I was too weak to sketch. Julian started reading his novel drafts to me, his voice soothing the nausea. One night, he read a passage about a couple facing a storm, their love the only shelter. "That's us," he whispered, kissing my forehead. I wanted to believe him, but the fear of losing him, or myself, kept me awake long after he slept. Spring in Seattle brought cherry blossoms and a fragile hope. My new treatment plan was brutal, but the tumors were finally shrinking. At 28, I was learning to celebrate small victories, like keeping down a meal or walking to the park with Julian. He was trying harder, showing up fully, but the ghost of his cruel words haunted us. Could love heal the wound that deep? One sunny afternoon, we sat on a bench by Lake Washington, the water sparkling like it held secrets. Julian carved our initials into the wood, his knife steady. "For us," he said, his voice thick. I traced the letters, EC plus JH, and felt a flicker of the old magic. But when he reached for my hand, I hesitated. I need to know you won't run again, I said. His eyes met mine, raw and honest. I won't. I swear it. Our friends rallied around us. Aisha organized a fundraiser at the poetry slam, raising money for my medical bills. Lena's Phoenix mural became a local sensation, drawing queer artists to our apartment like pilgrims. Sam, from the support group, invited us to his drag bingo night, where Julian laughed louder than I'd heard in months. These moments stitched us back together, but the fabric was still frayed. Then came the setback. A skin showed a new tumor, small but stubborn. Dr. Nguyen recommended surgery, but the risks were high. I saw the fear flash in Julian's eyes, but this time, he didn't pull away. We'll face it together, he said, and for the first time, I believed him. The night before the surgery, we lay in bed, his arms around me. I wrote something for you, he whispered, pulling out his journal. It was a poem, raw and aching, about loving through fear. Tears blurred my vision as he read, his voice breaking on the last line. You are my home, no matter what. The surgery was a blur of pain and groggy recovery. Julian never left my side, reading to me, holding my hand through the IVs. When I woke, weak but alive, he was there, his auburn curls falling into his eyes. You made it, he said, voice cracking. I squeezed his hand, too tired to speak, but the love between us felt stronger than ever. Recovery was slow. I couldn't work, and Julian's barista job barely covered rent. Our savings dwindled, but he never complained. One night, he came home with a stack of printed pages, his novel, finished. It's about us, he said, shy. About fighting for love. I read it in one sitting, my heart swelling with pride. He'd poured our pain, our love, into every word. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. As summer faded, I started feeling stronger. We took walks again, hand in hand, the city alive around us. But the fear never fully left. What if the cancer came back? What if Julian broke under the pressure again? I didn't have answers, but I had him, and that was enough for now. A year after my diagnosis, I stood in remission. At 29, I was alive, fragile but fierce, my body a map of scars and survival. Julian, now 30, had grown too. His novel was under review with a publisher, and his eyes carried a quiet strength. But our love, though deeper, bore the marks of our ordeal. Seattle's autumn rain pattered against our window as we rebuilt, one day at a time. The support group became our family. Sam, now in remission too, threw a survivor's party at his loft, where we danced under string lights, Julian's arms around me. Aisha and Lena announced their engagement, and we cheered, the joy infectious. But later, as Julian and I walked home, he stopped under a street lamp. I almost lost you, he said, voice low. And I almost ruined us. I pulled him close. But you didn't. We're here. We started therapy, a suggestion from Priya. It was messy, peeling back layers of hurt, his abandonment, my fear of being unlovable. The therapist, a kind 40-year-old named Dr. Torres, helped us navigate the wreckage. Love isn't perfect, she said. It's choosing each other every day. Julian chose me, showing up with small acts. Coffee brewed just right, notes tucked into my sketchbook. I chose him, forgiving slowly but surely. One evening, Julian took me to Pike Place Market, where we'd kissed 3 years ago. The air smelled of salt and flowers, the crowd buzzing. He led me to a bench overlooking the Sound, where a small plaque read, "Love fights through every storm." My breath caught. It was the bench from our park, relocated here as a gift from our friends. Julian knelt, not with a ring, but with his journal. "I want forever with you, Ethan," he said. "Cancer, fear, my mistakes, none of it changes that." I nodded, tears falling, and we kissed, the city cheering around us. Life wasn't a fairy tale. I still had checkups, each scan a reminder of mortality. Julian's novel got rejected, but he kept writing. We fought. We laughed. We loved. Our third anniversary had broken us, but it also showed us what we could endure. Love, I learned, isn't just romance. It's the courage to stay, to fight, to rebuild. As we stood on that bench, the plaque's words etched into my heart. I knew we'd face whatever came next. Together,